I'm thinking about a video I saw yesterday. I was just looking at it. I don't remember where or even when or even how to link it. But it was a very short video. It was only like 30 seconds long. And it was saying, knowledge is limiting. I was actually just looking, putting in the thing, looking for something on that was going to talk about knowledge is limited. Our knowledge is limited. I mean, that's a philosophical point that we understand. Knowledge is limited. Our knowledge is limited. This is what David Hume talked about, that there are limits to what we can know. But I wasn't looking for knowledge is limiting, which I thought was interesting. And there's some truth to that. It's not a thing about being against knowledge. I'm not against knowing things. I'm always trying to learn things and learn. I'm forever exploring, so I'm pro-knowledge. But I could understand that point that the person was making in this very short video that they made. If we stick only to what we know, then we're very restricted. So many things I do are based on things that get criticized. There are things that, the criticism is so ubiquitous on YouTube that it's just, you become afraid to think different. You become afraid to imagine things. You become afraid to fantasize about things. You are afraid to wish for things. And you're afraid to talk about how you think things ought to be. It's okay to talk about how things ought to be. I ought to be healthy. So I do things. I make decisions based on wishful thinking. I wish to be healthy. So I do things to make myself healthier. I monitor my blood sugar. I watch what I eat. I make sure I get as much exercise as I can, which I mostly walk. I do a lot of walking, which has helped me to control my blood sugar. That's wishful thinking. I wish to be healthy. If I didn't have a wish to be healthy, I wouldn't be doing any of these things. I wish to do better in every area of my life. But, we get criticized for wishful thinking because, think of the criticism that so many people have, so many rationalists have. Oh, well, that's wishful thinking, and that's a terrible thing. And you shouldn't wish for stuff, and wishful thinking is terrible, and it's horrible, and it's the worst thing. No, it's not. It's not bad. There's too much criticism of wishful thinking. I understand what people are saying. What they really mean is they're talking about people being irresponsible, which is a different story. But if it wasn't for wishful thinking, a lot of things wouldn't happen. I think about when I was a kid growing up. And I remember when Apollo 11 landed on the moon. And I thought, wow. I mean, that was, when I was a kid, me and my friends, we were just totally into that thing, Because it's like a fantasy becoming reality. And it started with wishful thinking. With that speech that Kennedy gave about landing a man on the moon and returning him back safely before the end of that decade. He said that back in 1961, and then in 1969 they did it. Wishful thinking. I remember there was some program on, and one of the people from NASA said, we weren't even thinking about that when Kennedy said it. It was like everybody looked at each other like, what? So it's interesting, wishful thinking. If it wasn't for wishful thinking, that wouldn't have happened. It takes wishful thinking for progress. Progress isn't just purely a matter of science. It's not purely a matter of knowledge. If we knew things and just knew stuff and that was all it was, we just had knowledge. But we didn't have wishes. And we didn't have an idea of ought, that people ought to live longer, that people ought to do better, that maybe our society should have less crime in it, and people should be healthier, and so many other things. If we didn't have wishes and thoughts of things like that, these things that get criticized so much by the super rational-minded people. There's nothing wrong with being rational, but this sort of rationalism run amok thing, that's what I have a problem with. Where you criticize any kind of wishing, any kind of fantasy, any kind of thoughts that go outside of the range of science. That over-criticism, I have a problem with that. This hyper-criticism instead of hypocriticism is hyper-criticism. It's criticism that goes too far. I'm going to dream. I'm going to fantasize. I'm going to imagine. And I'm not going to accomplish everything I want to do. But you know what? It's okay to dream. It's okay to fantasize. It's okay to hope. Those things are perfectly okay. They're good things. And for the people who want to do those things, feel free to do it.